One of the things that I absolutely love when I get to conduct these interviews on the podcast is making a real effort to connect with the people I'm talking with, but more importantly, like being able to cycle through a theme around how can we better people's lives. And to be sitting here with you today, Mitzi, and to be talking to someone that has a genuine passion and a real expertise in making lives better, it's something that I think, innately grateful that you do, that you have these skills that you will tell us about, that you actually choose to use those skills for good. I think is a very inspiring thing. So that is why we sit here today. That is why I have you on the show. Mitzi, welcome, and thank you for taking the time today to not only chat to me, but also make me a very nice cup of tea.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and for your audience that's listening to everything that we're going to say. And I'm hoping that I can actually impart some of the stuff that I know. I love sharing my knowledge, and that's been going on ever since I was young. Like I was thinking about that today, reflecting on even as a teenager, I was always, sort of gravitating around social things and community and building people and supporting people. It's actually what led me bit by bit, in part to understand myself, other people, and understand myself and figure out for myself what kinds of things might work to make relationships better, or to communicate better, or, just to face life and whatever life might throw your way. That was kind of like the original thing. But I noticed that people would gravitate around me, and I'd end up, having these deep and meaningful conversations. And it just led to more of that, seeking more of it. So it's been going on for years. And it's so interesting. I was reflecting on that this morning, precisely thinking about that journey that led me to where I am here today. And it's like a thread, like an invisible thread that's been tying everything I've been doing.
Wow.
Throughout my life. Yeah.
Wow. And that's important to follow, because I think a lot of people, when they're trying to, I guess, get to the core of what their purpose is, what the meaning of their own being is, and trying to, I guess, best understand where they belong. And you mentioned communities. Community belonging is a huge part of our existence. But to dig that little bit deeper and to understand what your purpose is really important. Did you find that even when you were very young that you had these kind of almost innate built-in skills for engaging and interacting with other people? You mentioned that a lot of people would, come to you and tell you things. Do you feel that, like, you've always kind of had that, I guess, that gravitational pull, or that level of a safe space that you've just kind of been able to invite people in, make them feel comfortable? Has that always been?
The earliest thing that I remember was always favoring the underdog.
Oh,
Like,
I like that.
hated the idea of people being left out. And always kind of, sought out to, sit next to the person that was just on their own and try and strike a conversation. It was just the thing that I did. And to be honest, I didn't really know how to do much of, that socializing. And, it was kind of like a mystery. And I wondered why some people were so popular and what made that so, like what was it that other people saw in other people? And just that curiosity about, wait a minute, how does this work, But ultimately, yes, and ended up being this sense of, just people being drawn somehow, and then finding myself not, why are you looking at me for answers? Like, I'm not sure I've got it put together anyway. And it was, from a very early moment. And I remember I've always been a deep thinker. Always. I'm sort of very, very analytical, very like there's more. I always seek to understand, which can be frustrating sometimes for myself and for other people. Like I really need to understand something, understand it really well, like look at it from different angles and try and really understand it. And as I'm making sense of reality and making sense of, what's happening for me, that I'm actually also looking for that deep pearl of wisdom. I'm not sure how that happened. I know I read a lot when I was young, and I know that I used to write prose as well as a teen.
Wow.
And it was always trying to find the meaning in words and the depth that to express these things that were inside, and they were just very difficult to express. And that led to, that deep thinking, I think, is what led to some of that insight. Sort of being able to gain insight about life, or gaining a perspective about a different way to see things, which was always kind of important. Like, yes, there's this that's going on. And also, what about this other thing? And is there a way to use that as well? So I think that's what kind of led, that was the journey. That was it was my journey of me discovering what it meant to be alive, what events in life meant. How do you, deal with emotions or things that kind of come up for yourself. So, and I didn't always have the answers, but I know that I kept looking. And the thing was that I had that teachable spirit, that desire to know, to understand, to dig deeper, to find connections, to find, what are, looking into different, I ended up looking at different, I guess, spiritual traditions, different kinds of, sort of exploring things and always kind of exploring different things and those moments that you have that are, yes, this resonates. There's this moment of acknowledgement that you kind of go, yep, this feels right. This right. And so that's, you started to compile all these key things, and then they became kind of like a way of living, like a philosophy of living in a way. And then, the more that I did that, the more, of course, people were drawn to whatever it was that they'd find. The interesting thing, it's never, there's always an openness to share.
Yes.
But there's never I'm trying to convince you to gain you into the way that I'm thinking.
Understood.
It's not that kind of thing. It's more like if you're there, like it's more journeys, and do our journeys overlap? So a bit like a tapestry and threads that kind of overlap. And if we kind of meet and we're both in this, okay, let's have this conversation. I've got this, and what do you? And then suddenly, like we now see the picture a little bit better.
Understood.
Does that make sense? Like we're kind of putting the pieces together.
Yes.
But the necessary thing to be able to work with me, or to be able to get, what is actually that you are on that journey, on that, you may not know where you're going. You may not have clarity. You may not have the answers, and that's fine. But it's more like that desire, that teachability, that longing to go deeper, longing to know yourself. And it's scary. Yeah. It's really scary because you don't know what you're going to find. Right. But at the same time, there's that desire. How can I be a better person than I was yesterday? Rather than trying to see if I can be more like other people, which is hard. It's very difficult to do that. It's very hard. And you lose who you are in that process. So it's very,
It's powerful though. It's interesting because I think we arrive at a good intersection here with your specific role and how you're using these incredible abilities that you have, and this real passion for trying to get people on the most aligned journey that they're on. Speak a little bit about your role, what it is, how you do it. But more importantly, I think we spoke off air before around certain people being ready or not to go on that journey. And you mentioned a really important thing there around that sort of that level of curiosity, wanting to actually dig that little bit deeper and find that purpose. And, perhaps not everyone is ready to take that exact step or feel like they're at that moment where they can sort of delve a lot deeper with you. But I think it's probably better from your words what that kind of looks like and sort of where that intersection begins and where you kind of take them on that journey.
It's more of a desire. Like there's a longing inside the person, and like almost like this question of there's got to be more. Like there's more to me. Like, well, I'm not satisfied with where I am, and I may not know what I want, and that's okay, right? but it's that it is that it starts off with that sense of wanting to really know, like, who am I? So basically what we're doing is we're answering those questions, like, who am I?
Wow.
Where do I belong? What am I meant to be doing? Right. And then the thing that blows people's minds, I guess at the beginning, is suddenly, like, just, you know what, like, everything you need is already inside of you. You've already been wired with this from the get-go.
Mm.
From the moment you were born, you have these traits and these abilities and these things. You've been doing them all your life. Right.
Mm.
And it's just that, you know, for whatever reason, the environment that you're growing up or you're exposed to, it shapes how you view the world, whatever it is you're encountering, whatever it is that's coming up your way. The experiences start to shape the beliefs that you have. And if you're, you know, sort of, if you're growing in an environment, let's just say you're the kind of person that needs to be alone, time alone, and explore, and, you know, sort of say, really read and understand and curious, like me. If my family had been more of a sports oriented family, and it's like, no, you got to do sport, I was terrible at sports. Terrible. I was that kid that everyone picked last, you know, when they were trying to pick the team.
Yeah.
I was that person. And I'm like, and I was like, you know, like, for me, it's like, oh, you know, I wish that I would get picked, but I also knew that that's not my thing. Like, never been one to, you know, that some people have that competitive spirit. They're like, yeah, I'm getting in. You know, they really get into it, and they're, you know, and I just never had that. I always felt like, no, come on, you can do it. You know, like, it's more of that team, not wanting to leave anyone behind. That was the kind of, like, and I think that if in my family, growing up, there had been a huge interest or really push for physical fitness and exercise and, you know, sports and all of that. And who knows? I might have turned out, you know, like, all of this might have been repressed, but it was actually encouraged. I was given lots of books. I was invited to have deep and meaningful conversations with the people I was growing up with. Interesting conversations. We'd do these really interesting conversations with my uncle, where he was always exploring different things, different interesting, and would kind of explore these things and go into storytelling. And, you know, he is a musician, and he would, it was always something interesting that he was looking at. You know, he was like Lelutier, or he was looking at, you know, semiotics and double meaning and things like that. And so,
stuff.
Still up to date, we kind of have a call every 2 weeks or so, and we're like getting to these deep topics. So that was very enriching. It was very affirming of the traits that I had, which and I think that's what can happen as well. Like, you may have traits that just don't fit, or you're expected to do things in a way that another person might do it, right? And then when that happens, you're trying so hard to please. I mean, it's important for survival, for you to be able to fit in, and for you to be able to be accepted and attached and all of that. So it makes sense that you might start going, well, okay, let's just say if it was a sporty environment, I might actually try and make more of an effort to be sporty, and then I'd become very frustrated and very feeling really bad about myself, right? Because I'm never going to be able to meet that standard, because it's just not in me. And why aren't you competitive or whatever? You know, like, if they had said things like that to me, I probably would have, like, this part of me that's very inquisitive and needs time alone and needs that those are parts of my temperament. I might have, like, just pushed them away. And in doing that, yes, we adapt, because we have to survive, and we have to kind of find the way to do what's required of us, especially as you're growing up. You don't really know. You're trusting everybody around you, and whatever may be happening, you know, is influencing how you're seeing the world. And so my identity, that part of my identity, would have gone underground. And then I would have ended up with this sense of, I don't really know who I am, because I'm trying really hard to be this thing that I'm supposed to be, but I'm just not able to meet the standard. I'm always falling short. There's this big gap between what I'm expected to do and what feels right. you know? And sometimes you get really perfectionist and you push yourself and you do it well, but oh my God, you hate it along the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I can't believe it, but I'm good at it, you know? And you find a way to survive because we're wired for survival. That's what we do.
We are.
But those are ways in which we lose our sense of identity of who we are. And so the work that I do is that work of helping you reacquaint with who you are, which what comes naturally. It's always been there, right? And so in those traits that are always there, you find you have strengths. But also it comes with the flip side of the coin that it can get out of hand. I mean, I could overstudy something and never move. Like I could go on a quest for knowledge and just keep seeking and keep seeking and keep seeking and never write that paper or never really get on with whatever it is we need to do. So, you know, analysis paralysis is a thing that I have to be aware of.
Understood.
Because it comes with this great strength and power in a way, right? Comes this other side that I need to be aware of. That I might come across as skeptical because I need to see it for myself because I enjoy the process of learning and finding out more. So you're telling me something and I'm going, oh my God, I actually need to check it out. So you might perceive me as like, I don't believe you. No, I do believe you. I just want more. Do you know what I mean? And so it's awareness. So for me, it's awareness. It's identifying those strengths, those traits that are part of you that come natural. They come natural to such a degree that we think genuinely that it's not a big deal that everybody else can do it. We make that assumption. And I can't tell you the amount of people that I say that I might, you know, identify a particular trait and say, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I have people that come to me that struggle and need to learn how to manage that because they don't, and for you, it comes natural. What? Because they've been doing it all their lives.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's no big deal. So we undervalue it.
That's the word.
We underestimate the value and you know what that brings. So it goes dormant again, and it's a very strong part of our identity. So that's kind of like the first step of the work with me. So we can kind of connect at that very basic level of strategies and techniques, 4 tips that you could do so you can blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the external part, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the biological thing. If you sleep more, you're going to be able to, those are techniques and their strategies. Sure, we need those, right? And according to temperament, there will be some that will be more favorable for you. So the more that you understand yourself, the better it is. But the real work is when you're starting to go deeper, because we're not coming from a place of I need to become this thing. It's I already am, and now I'm going to live this. That's purpose. That's your first purpose ever.
Yes.
Is just to be who you've always been and be it well.
And it's such a fascinating journey because for me, I kind of arrived at a point too where I was doing particular work or was in, you know, sort of a schooling environment that wasn't necessarily having pathways that was very complementary to the level of skills and attributes and passions that I had. Yet underneath all of that, every now and again, there was just this little glimmer of seeing that come out in certain social activities or particular opportunities that seemed aligned that I'd put my hand up for. And it's fascinating because I'm sure a lot of people that you've done work with have had tastes of what they really could be, or that acknowledgement of I want to be more of that, but I'm just not quite there. Do you find that there's a level of frustration or unfulfillment that comes with a lot of the people that come to you because they almost know that they can be something more than what they are, and it's just this kind of more of an alignment and this deeper search? Is it because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there thinking, oh, you know, things are going good, but have you seen a level of trends that you've came across where there's been this real sort of, I don't know, this kind of fork in the road where they've went, No, I've got to dig a bit deeper here. I've got to realize this spiritual dimension of
Mm-hmm.
myself, and go a bit deeper and find someone that has that level of understanding that can guide me through. Where do you often meet these people in their journey?
So it's interesting because often people will have the idea that you've got to be really in a bad place, which sure, if you're in a bad place, sure, I can help you get, but that's not necessarily where you need to be. Some people that come to me are, they feel good, they're happy with where they're at. Like, yep, this is good. I'm doing the thing, and then there's these certain things that they can't quite overcome, or they're frustrated by them. So someone might come to me, and this happens often with the 360 report that they get from their work, and then they go, I need to improve these things, and then we kind of go, okay, we do the temperament profile, and then we look at that, and we go, oh, okay, so how are you trying to do this? And you notice they're trying to use strategies or trying to do the thing in a way that someone else might do it, because they're following these 3-step formulas or whatever it is.
Understood.
And other people have told them this is how you need to do it, and they keep butting heads and like, I can't get it. And so, okay, so this is about figuring out how to achieve the outcome aligned with your temperament, right? So how do we do that? Because you're going to have a different way of doing that thing that's not going to align with what everybody else is doing, but it requires you to understand yourself first, because that's how you know, wow, that makes sense. No wonder. And then think about this. Imagine that the things that usually take you this huge effort, right? You may be in the wrong place.
Sure.
And then that's a dead giveaway. Like, why are you doing this again? And you're just in the wrong place altogether.
Yes.
But often you are doing a thing that you like, but there's this sense of every day is kind of like the same, and it's just like a grind. You don't know, there's no meaning behind, there's no sense of purpose, no strong sense of self, although we do get a sense of our identity by the recognition of whatever it is that we're achieving, by what others, sort of say. And then of course the 360 report can be, ow, painful, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to first acknowledge that and ground yourself in that, and then be able to find strategies to, do the thing that you want to get done in a way that comes more natural to you, right? Imagine doing that. Imagine being able to do something and it just doesn't feel like work. It just doesn't feel like
it's not being forced.
It's not forced.
You're not flowing against the stream.
That's right. Yeah. You're doing it in the best way possible. Or you're encountering this thing that's like a little bit difficult, but you know exactly how to counter it. It doesn't overtake you, and it doesn't reinforce these ideas that you have that might be unhelpful. There's that. So that's one kind of client that I can help. And then you've got the people that are, it might be like they're in a crossroads. They've just had a child, or their child has just left home, or there's just this transition, these moments of change. There's just finished high school, and what am I going to do now? And that's like life looks very different, right? And just all sorts. So you're changing a job, moving houses, moving state, country, city. They're all big transitions, but they're also great opportunities to reinvent yourself. They're great opportunities to kind of check in and see, okay, what's making this so challenging for me? What's the challenging thing, and how can I tackle it? Right? And so what we're doing is we're building confidence by helping the person see. It's as if all I'm doing is holding a mirror up to you. That's all I'm doing. And I'm just going, did you see this? Like, have you noticed that you got this? And people go, nah. And I go, no, have a look. Like, did you do it in this way, and you do it in this way, and you do it in this? Have you oh my God, yes, I do. Okay. So that means that you're probably struggling with this and this and this, right? Because once we're doing this and this comes natural, then the tendency is we're going to overdo it, and we're going to end up doing this other thing, right? So say someone that has always been told that they're just too negative. You're just too negative. You're thinking about it too much, which I could turn around and say, well, you're not thinking about it enough. Right? But what is that? That's a strength out of balance. So a person who does that is usually the kind of person that can walk into a situation, a room, or anything, a process of work, and can spot exactly what's not working. They can see it, and they can go, oh, wait, or they can see the thing that's out that needs fixing, and or how they could improve a situation. So they're great risk assessors. It's like a strength. Imagine that, like wherever you go, you know exactly what needs to be fixed so something can be better than it is right now. That's an amazing strength. But if you let it take over and you overuse it, now you're negative. Now you're critical, because every time you step into a situation, you're pointing out the thing that's not working when it's not what's needed for that situation. Right?
Yeah.
You're trying to. So can you see? It's a strength out of balance. And we see it, oh, this is a weakness that I need to get rid of. I can't get rid of it. If you get rid of it, you'll get rid of that other thing too. And that's how your another way in which your identity goes dormant. Because the strength, when it's out of balance, presents as a defect that everybody tells you that you need to overcome. And so you now can't be who you are, because you have to tone that down. Instead of, it's out of balance and this is how you balance it, because this is your strength. And so your power is going to be in knowing when to use it and when not to use it. Right?
It's powerful.
It's
powerful. And the other thing I'm really curious about that you referenced there around other people seeing you in a certain way or saying that thing may be a weakness. Now, with social media, there can be a lot of, particularly if you're someone who projects yourself out there and publishes yourself quite a lot, has a certain way of communicating. It can be a minefield of a lot of criticism, or at least a lot of feedback. Is there something with the work that you do, or in general, a sort of a way of confidence that you give to people to sort of say, these are the types of feedback you listen to, versus, is this coming from the right place?
Yeah.
Is this person someone that you can trust? Is the feedback coming from a place of love and genuine care and constructivity, or is this coming from a place of jealousy, empathy, hatred, from a bad place potentially? Do you sometimes have to, I guess, balance out where people perhaps are taking feedback from the outside world, or even potentially their closest circles, in a way that, becomes more of a filter with how you take those certain comments, because there are certain things out there that can be said, and you can take it or you can leave it. But where do you sort of sit on that kind of way of dealing with certain comments that may come the way?
That's a fantastic question in this day and age. It's like, it definitely is a really good question, because media, it's its own thing, right? And so without going just yet without going just yet into that, it's about. So there's several things there that you mentioned, right? So one is, what do we do when we're getting feedback? Like, what do we do with this feedback, right? Is it good? Is it negative? Is it hurtful? Different temperaments will respond differently.
Sure.
So because we don't just have temperament traits and strengths, we also have deep needs. So we all have traits, and we all have the same type of human needs. Okay, so a need for acceptance, a need for validation, for these kinds of things. So connection, to have a purpose, to have meaning, to have all of these, to have autonomy. And so different temperaments will have, depending on the temperament, will have these needs more pronounced. They'll be a little bit more dominant depending on the temperament traits. So someone with a temperament that's more about action might have a deeper need for goals, might have a more of a deep need to have autonomy and control. So will struggle more when they feel like they don't have control. If the feedback comes, like, just say that you give a person like that feedback about how something that they were supposed to be doing, they're just not doing it properly, but they actually don't have power and control. They're working under a system that they got to do what they got to do.
Sure.
There's no other way to do. That can generate a lot of contradiction, because it's almost unfair. And then you've got a person with a temperament that there's a deep need for recognition of what they contribute, right? So that temperament, that's like a thing that gives them a sense of every time they achieve this, they feel, yeah, I'm on purpose. I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Or something. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, validation and affirmation and all of these things have kind of been, the meaning of the words have kind of gone kind of astray, right? They've kind of lost their meaning. But what we want to think about is, we want to think every time that you act based on, because it's all interlinked, on the strengths that you have, and you bring that to the world, right? You're fulfilling the deep need. Right?
Yes.
That's what you're doing. And the moment that you fulfill that, there's a sense of, this is, I'm on purpose. I have, like, the reason for me being alive is. And so it's very, very hard when there's feedback that might shatter that or might contradict it, right? So you need to develop the strength to be able to deal with it, right? You have other temperaments that seek their sense of belonging is really a deep need. The sense of belonging, of being part of. So these are the people that will tend to want to be liked by everyone, that will struggle the most when there's one bad comment. They will zero in on that one. Just that one person. And everybody else loves them, but there's one person and they can't, right? And it's just because it's like a survival thing, right?
Yes.
So these deep needs. So what we're doing here is we're helping them understand that. And you're starting to ground yourself on the fact that you are, and this is who you are, and your mission and your purpose in life is to be that. Outwardly. That's your contribution. So you become more and more aware that that's your contribution to the world, and it comes natural to you. So it's very easy to be.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And as we all, my ideal, like what I'd really love is for so many people to be along this type of journey.
Sure.
That then we begin to recognize and validate each other. And then now, like, I'm so grateful for your contribution that only you can bring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that uniquity coming out.
That unique thing that comes that only you can, that you can bring to this. But instead what we do now is we compete and we try and, if he can do it, I should be able to do it. And so, do you know what I mean? And then that's like this, if I can't do it, then I'm just not good enough. And it should, like, if you think about it, the ideal would be, oh my God, you've got this. This is great. Like, hey, have you guys seen that? This is this guy's the one who does. This is great. That's your place. That gives you your sense of belonging.
Yes.
In a way. Does that make sense? This is what you contribute to the world. That's what you bring. So then what happens is that you have to then develop this sense of that you're so grounded in knowing yourself and knowing what that contribution is, and also knowing that it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to be able to fulfill those deep needs with anything that you're doing or with anything that anyone says or any recognition, right? It's just not going to be fully ever recognized, fulfilled, because it's a deep spiritual need. And so it must be filled spiritually. And you're the one who's accountable for leading that. Does that make sense? If you're relying on someone else to fill it, it's always going to be painful. But if you're acknowledging that it's a deep need and that it's a spiritual need that can only be filled, spiritually, then suddenly anything that anybody says that's, and encourages is great, because you go, bonus, right? This is really good. And anything that they say is negative is like, okay, let's pause for reflection. Is there room for growth here? It doesn't mean I need to take it on, but I can listen to it and kind of assess. But you need the tools to assess, which is what you're learning as you're learning about yourself. You're learning about these tools that you're going to use to keep this thing in balance. Because seeking that validation and that it can get out of balance. And then it presents us a problem that hurts. We will get hurt through our deepest needs. Our deepest needs will also be our deepest hurts. But our deepest needs will also shape our values, the things that we find important, which is what gives meaning to who we are. And then when we are able to be who we are, then we are in purpose.
And in alignment.
In alignment with everything. Right? And then that's the best place to be.
Yeah.
And so it's about that. And then to address the question is like, okay, so who then is, everybody's feedback won't necessarily be what I'm after.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's
Yes.
you want to stop and think, okay, is the person that's giving me the feedback, do I aspire to be like them? Is that, do you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Because if someone's, I mean, the person might have, let's just say they've got a lot of money and they've achieved a lot of, success in terms of income and all of that. And that's amazing. But they live a life where they don't really pay too much attention to the ones they love. And there's never enough time. There's always a lot of work. And then they're telling me that I'm just and I'm just going like, I don't want what you have in that way. Like, sure, the income is good, but these other things are important to me too. Do you know what I mean? So
you don't see the value in that journey.
Yes, I don't see
doesn't
it.
align with you.
But I can acknowledge
But you can acknowledge,
that they're goal oriented and that they're driven by that, and that's what they contribute. And if I needed someone to tell me how to make the goals happen, come talk to me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But if you're trying to tell me about other, maybe, okay, hang on. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I'll listen and I'll walk away and I'll mull over it, because again, remember, what's going to take you places is that opened ability to explore things.
Yes.
That curiosity.
Yes.
That curiosity, that flexibility to look into things, that teachable spirit almost, right?
Yes.
That longing for, I wonder if I can be better. I wonder if there's something here. Not everything that is said is valuable. So you listen to everything, take what is useful.
Yes.
Chuck the rest.
Exactly.
And then think about, like, who am I really worried about their approval? Like, wait. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know, it's like, yeah.
And what I love about what you said there was, the word spiritual need, that phrase spiritual need is a really important one just to return to, in the sense of, there's a lot of things in life that is materialistic or is form, right? What we attach ourselves to is something that we can't take with us, and it's something that can sometimes be, tangible in its form, but beyond that form, there's really not a lot else. But that spiritual need is quite different. And I'd love you to delve a little bit deeper into that spiritual need, because, I tried this little exercise the other day around certain comments, and there were some comments that came my way that could have been perceived as cutting or as critical. And I let just the words almost pass through me, as if I was transparent and the words were just passing through. The words didn't land. They didn't hit a barrier. They didn't resonate. They weren't something that I listened and went, oh, I'm actually going to validate those words and do something with them. I just let them pass through me. And that was a very powerful thing. And I almost think there's something along the lines of with form as well, where there's certain things that we might, as humans, try and attain that might be form-based, like a certain award or something like that. And we're not devaluing the importance of that, but perhaps it's different to spiritual needs. And I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, that you want that balance between having both, because there's nothing wrong with aspiring to having these things, and that's great. It's fine. Set a goal, do it, achieve it, fantastic. Money is a means to being able to do more of whatever it is that you want to do. There's nothing inherently wrong in money or these things in themselves, right? So that aside, that belongs to, like you say, the realm of form. It belongs to that realm of our physicality. So we're wired with the brain, right, that is absorbing like a sponge everything from the moment that we're born. It's just taking everything in. And so all of the experiences, it's logging it like an AI type source. And it's just putting all of these experiences in, and it's drawing conclusions, and it's, sort of putting little tags to remember when to recall it, what that looks like. And so it operates like that. This is the system that's the physical tangible body that we inhabit. Okay.
Mm.
And so with this, you've got this dynamic, the cognitive cycle. It's linked to the brain because the brain is there wired for survival. The whole point is keeping this physical body alive. Yeah. Okay. So you will have something that happens outside. So I see this cup of tea and I look at this, and then you and I were sitting here in the color yellow, and it's just like, oh, great, it's fantastic. Yes. Right. And so anything that I come across that I perceive, right, will come in through my senses, right, through my physical body. My physical body through my senses will communicate it to my brain. So it's a language. Senses are a language, including proprioception, interoception. So that's like the feelings of internal of what's happening inside of me. Yes. Aside from, hearing, tasting, seeing. So then you've got, okay, that language of the body communicating with the brain. And then the brain goes, what does it mean? And it needs to work out. What does it mean? Because it needs to keep you alive. That's his whole function, is to keep you alive. That's what it's wired for. So you need to always remember that. Okay. And then it's going to go through the file. And it goes, ooh, cup of tea, yellow shirt. What do we know about yellow? And it won't, like, I can also see that drum, and I can see that, the plant, and it's all in my periphery. My brain is taking everything in, but it's only the thing that I focus on. So, oh, that yellow caught my attention. And then my brain goes, oh, she's focusing on that. I wonder if we need to keep her alive. Let's see what we know about yellow. And then we'll pull it out, a memory, right? Or a belief that I have that yellow might be the royal color and you shouldn't be wearing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and then its meaning is going to be attached. So when I'm looking at the world and whatever it is I'm perceiving, I am going to see that world based on what's stored in my brain. Okay? Whatever experiences are there, whatever conclusions were drawn, whatever is in my brain, that's how I'll see. So we don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. Just let that sink in.
We are. Yeah.
Whatever it is that's in your mind, that's how you're going to, because there is the thing that's here, and then there is my interpretation of the thing, the event that's happening, and what I think it means. And this is like a thing that we do because we need to stay alive. And so the moment I start focusing on something, so I'm focusing on this, and then the moment I'm focusing on it, my brain interprets that focus as it's a survival thing we need to figure out, and it starts to give you first thought. Thoughts, just it's like when you focus on something, that it's like you inserted a keyword into Google, and then it just throws everything up. Yes. Based on your previous searches that you've done, right? And so if you put a keyword in your computer, it's gonna bring up some stuff. I put the same keyword in my computer, different stuff's gonna come up. There'll be some overlap, but it's gonna be based on my own personal experience with it. It's the best analogy, I guess, using that. So then when the brain does that, then suddenly now the brain needs, it's all for survival, right? Yeah. So survival means I need to give an instruction to the body to do something, because we need to know what do we need to do to stay alive. So how does the brain communicate back with the body? It does it with emotion, which is a chemical release from the brain. So the different chemicals that get released will give your body different sensations, right? So when adrenaline is released, you'll have a different sensation than when serotonin is released, right? And so it's just a chemical that's being released into your body, and it's released based on what the brain kind of went, oh, yellow, that's dangerous. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And if that's what it thought, then it's going to release the chemicals that are going to make me anxious. Right? I'm going to feel the chemical in my body, and then I'm going to make sense of, why am I feeling this? And I'm going to send that message back to my brain, and my brain's going to go, well, maybe it's very dangerous. Do you know what I mean? And whatever it pops up, and then it's going to be like this feedback, and then this urge to do something is going to come up. Do I avoid it? Do I walk away? Do I tell you something about it? I don't know what action I'm going to have to take. The more tired I am, the more reactive instead of responsive I am. Okay, so the harder it is for me to control the urge. All of this is to say that there's the event that's happening, and there's your interpretation of the event. Okay, and that your interpretation of the event is based on your experiences and what you've logged in your brain. And that just because your brain brings it up doesn't necessarily mean it's true, right? And so when people are saying things to you to go back to, why did I give you all this prayer?
No, I'm loving the weave here. This is good.
Apologize. But
This
it's
is
like,
brilliant.
I feel like I've got to set this whole ground, and that can exasperate. So I apologize.
Oh, and the fact that I'm now curious, like the meanings of the yellow shirt. I'm thinking, oh, what kind of research do I need to do? But bring it all back to
right. So bringing it all back to somebody telling you something, right? So it's not uncommon for you to, your interpretation of what I said to you is more to do with what you're thinking, how you're thinking about it, right? That what you're reading, like, of course, you're reading my body language, which the brain also has, has a store of, and he's going, ooh, that posture is a bit, when someone does that, they're kind of like, themselves, like, that contempt lip comes up, the brain goes, ooh, contempt. Okay. So now it starts to set the ground. Your brain is always anticipating. It's always trying to get ahead because it's a survival thing.
yes,
Right. And so it will also look into the tone and then the words that you've said, right? To kind of work out the intent. And ultimately, we get to decide what emotions that evokes. So when you let it pass through you, you were making a decision. I'm pretty sure maybe stuff went really quickly through your head, and then you just went, I'm just gonna let it go.
Non-reaction.
And what happened there was it's that separation between just because you're sending it to me doesn't mean I'm supposed to have it, because whatever it is you're sending to me now, this whole dynamic that I explained is also happening in that head. Right?
Yes.
So what they're doing or saying is a response to what they're perceiving and thinking and feeling, and that causes that reaction. So we really have to take everything with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
And really have to kind of like take a step back and go, notice. And this is why it's so helpful to have a teachable spirit, because you then can say whatever it is that's going on, like I can hear what you just said to me, and kind of a part of me says, I wonder what's going on for you to say that. I wonder how you're seeing me, how you're interpreting what I said or what I did, which if you start to think about it, if I'm thinking about it in that way, fully understanding that you've got a whole world happening inside of you, right? Then maybe that's the source for understanding. Because I can kind of say, instead of going, how dare you tell me that? I might just go, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Help me understand what makes you think that.
Yeah.
Right? And now there's this openness for dialogue rather than this conflict.
Yes.
Right? But if I then interpret that as because I may already be like, the moment you're coming, I might kind of go, oh, here we go. Here's this person coming. I'm already thinking, the brain's already and it's popping ideas. And if I don't manage the ideas, it won't matter what you say. Whatever you say, I'll interpret in a bad way, because my brain is already working itself in that direction.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So we think that we are at the mercy of people and what they say to us, but we really have more control than we think we do. Because if you can manage what you're thinking, how you're thinking, how you're making sense of what's around you, you can manage how you feel. And then, of course, that means you can manage how you respond to things.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about that level of understanding. And another level of understanding that we've touched on before when we've spoken is around, deeper intelligence. Obviously we have thoughts. We can't stop that. There's a lot of different thoughts. We can slow down different thoughts. We can kind of come to a calmer place, a more grounded place. There's different meditative practices out there. But around the level of like this deeper, level of intelligence and certain people that come into your life where you feel that there's a real positive energy versus a real kind of energy that's draining, that's sort of sapping for certain individuals. this deeper intelligence, and you mentioned the spiritual needs as well, and it might connect to this potentially, but I'm curious with your practice, but also with your understanding of deeper intelligence, how we can kind of go a bit beyond the mind and begin to better understand just how capable we are of so much that is deeper than just what we think and what we perceive. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked.
Oh, thank you.
So glad you asked that, because it's such a key fundamental part of what I do.
I love that.
Is like
I love that.
guiding you to that place where you can see and experience that separation between that dynamic, and you can actually observe yourself thinking and notice that I'm thinking this and I'm feeling this. Okay. Or you notice I have this urge to do this. What was I think? Oh, I'm thinking this. It makes sense because I feel this thing, right? And so you being able to take a step back, because this is the thing, we're like fused with, because it's just the way the body's wired, and the fact that it feels more real, right? The object,
yes.
What did you say? The physical,
the form, yes, the form.
Yeah, that physical side of things feels more real, and so the essence of who we are gets fused with it. So we think we are our thoughts, and we think that we are what we feel.
And the story that we might believe or tell
ourselves. And the interpretation that is basically based on past experiences that my brain reached the conclusion that may or may not be right.
Yeah.
So I have to be able to explore those things, because if I just go with it and assume that that's the way it is, then I could get myself in trouble. Right? I could get stuck in things. So when you're able to kind of, first you have to kind of start to recognize these strengths and these traits and everything. And then suddenly like this sense of, oh, there's a self, there's a me, there's a core me. And then there's this physical part of me that is attached to me. Like I am embodying this self, this essence of who I am is embodied in this physical body that is wired for survival. And then I can take a step back. And I can notice the sensations. I can notice what I'm feeling. I can notice what other people, I can notice myself thinking down one path. And then that's the first step to be able to manage all of this, is to be able to create that separation. But also, we're just more and more grounding this so that it's solid. We're drawing from past experiences as we're checking events that might shape your interpretation of this. So why is it that you interpret that in that way? And we're looking at it, and then we're going through these experiences, and we're drawing from those experiences the valuable stuff. So there's wisdom in that. Yeah. So today I was talking to somebody about like the core values of what I do. And two of those values are insight and wisdom, right? Aren't they the same thing? No. No, they're not. They're not the same thing. They seem like they are the same thing, but they're not. Because insight is when information goes to a deeper level, and you kind of go, it did something suddenly just makes sense. It just fits. Now something that I wasn't able to see before, I can now see, and I see clearly, and there's that aha moment, and that's insight. Right? And I can carry lots of insight. I can have knowledge, 5 skills that you can do for the day. Sure. Great. But knowledge is not insight. Okay? It's not insight. I can have, let's go one level down from knowledge. I can have information, which is just groups of data. And then the level down is data. So we were talking about this with someone this week, and just thinking about, those levels. So you kind of think just the bits, and then you kind of have like information, and now you know this. The moment you come across it and you understand it at the level of here, now you've got knowledge. But insight is like a deeper awakening of yes. It's a bit like when you see that meme and you go, oh my God, spot on. That's insight.
Understood.
It's a bit, I mean, it's funny, right? But it's still insight. It's that moment that something is revealed to you in a way that you now see it very clearly, and you can recognize it, and you go, yes, that's insight. Knowledge is deeper because wisdom is deeper because it harnesses the lived experience and the lesson from it. And now I can use that. I can use my insight and the past experience and the knowledge that I gained from that, the deeper understanding of the way things work. And then I layer this insight with wisdom, and that's different. It's a very different thing. So wisdom is deeper.
Wow. And I often hear the phrase like inner knowing. And knowing's a fascinating thing because you're like, how can you like know something like just absolutely cut to the core, like that's what you know. But does knowing also come from that same realm as this levels of spiritual understanding? Like, that's where it's from.
Yeah, the inner knowing or deeper knowing, because there's knowledge. If you study something and you see all my books, it's not like I like reading.
Amazing collection here.
It's not like I like reading or anything.
No, not at all.
But I can get a lot of knowledge and information in that way, but it's not a deep sense of conviction.
Yes.
Right. So I guess the key word there is that conviction. There is knowing. The inner knowing is a recognition, right? It's suddenly. It's hard to describe. But if you think about like when let's just say we've been friends for a while, and then when the phone rings and I pick it up and I hear your voice, I know.
Yes.
I know you. Like I recognized you.
Yes.
Through your voice.
Yes.
Right. So that's a type of knowing.
Yes.
That's deeper than just book knowledge, right?
Exactly.
Than just information.
Yes.
Sort of. So that type of knowing requires a deep connection. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There's a type of relationship that's happening there. And so at the spiritual level, this is what we're working on. This is what we're thinking. Because the problem that we have is that we don't know who we are instead. We just don't know who we are. We just don't. We're just striving to become and do and this. But then we go, well, but that's not me, but I don't know who I am. Right. And so it's about getting to know yourself, because people say, well, people can't trust themselves. People can't have self-compassion. They're very difficult. People say, but how? How do you? Yeah, well, how would you have self-compassion with someone you don't know? It's harder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It would take you to, it would take a lot of, convincing and working. How can you trust a person you don't know? I mean, you can give them the benefit of the doubt, which is an element of dignity. That's important, right?
Yeah.
So you can give people the benefit of the doubt, but trust is something that the other person builds. Trust is not something I choose to have, right? If I'm going to decide if I can trust you or not, I start at zero. I don't know if I can trust you or not. So if I start at zero, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. And then to know if I can trust you or not, I have to wait for you to do trustworthy things for me to, okay, so that's like a 1. And I could do, we used to explain it like this, when the audio has like this, you put it on 0 or it can go +1, 2, 3, 4, 10, or -1, da, da, da. So a little bit like that, right? So we start you off at 0. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I don't know, yes or no. I'm open to figuring out if I can trust you. Whatever it is you do increases my level of trust. So you do some, trustworthy things, and then I can go, yeah, I'm starting. And then you do something that's untrustworthy. You kind of go here. Or you do something, right? And then it kind of and then, it just kind of goes lower depending on the stuff that you're doing. You're building or not building the trust I have. So you can't turn around and tell me, why can't you trust? Except for those people who have decided they're not going to trust anybody. So anybody they meet already starts at -10.
Understood. Yes.
So if I'm starting you at -10, whatever you do to build the trust won't even get me to the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
And it's crazy how often that happens.
Yeah, it happens because
Just on face value.
Well, we've been hurt.
Yes.
I get it. Like the people have been hurt enough to kind of say, oh, wow, like I can't trust anybody. So it's an all or nothing, which is a temperament tendency.
Yeah.
Right. But it's an all or nothing kind of thing. Well, I either trust you or I don't. Right. And it's easier. It's safer not to trust anybody. So basically I'm starting everyone at -10. And whatever it is you're doing to build the trustworthiness never really ever gets you to trustworthy. So I never really ever trust you. And it's hard to live with that. It's hard.
Definitely.
Right? It's hard to live not being able to trust, and it's hard to be the one trying to build the trust, and every time you're seen as untrustworthy. Do you see what I mean? Because
Yes.
you're looking for that proof. So you have to learn to recognize who's where.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Is the person giving me the benefit of the doubt, or this person already has me down here? In which case, am I really going to make a difference, or is their perspective of the world already skewed in that sense, and maybe send them over so we can work on it if they're willing? Do you know what I mean? Because that's an important thing, because it causes a lot of pain to live that way. And so then going back to the inner knowing, then has that happened to you with yourself? Have you got yourself on a -10 that you can't trust yourself? What happened there? Were there past experiences where you started to build this sense that I'm not capable, I'm not competent, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not, I'm trapped, I can't do right? All of these beliefs that come from experiences that we've had, and they're very valid, right? Because they're based on experiences, but they're interpretations that are not helpful, and we have to heal it. Draw the wisdom from whatever the experience was, or the series of experiences, to get you to at least be at the benefit of the doubt with yourself. Because how else will you prove that you can trust yourself if you never... Is that making sense?
Well, it's almost a little bit like what you said around that mirror reflection, right? If there's if there's a doubt in yourself and you're lowering yourself so much with that level of inner knowing and trust, then all of a sudden when you see other people, are you seeing that kind of reflection in them through how you're feeling about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, we see the world as we are.
Yes.
And so often we will project onto another person the very thing that we're fearing, which it exasperates the person, and then leads to the very thing I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Because the brain is wired to keep me alive and keep me safe, and it will prove whatever I believe.
Yes.
So what you believe does matter a lot. It matters a lot, because your brain will always seek to validate what you believe. So it's important to be willing, and this is why it's so important to have a teachable spirit, to be open to exploring things, so that you can see, is this helping me? Right?
Yeah.
Because if it's not helpful, then where does it take you? But also, like, people fear doing that because they fear that they're going to be convinced of something. But the truth is that you could be doing exactly that. You could be so locked in something that's not helpful that you could be convinced, of something that's not going to help you, or resisting something that could be helpful. And it's almost like chopping off your nose to spite your face. Do you know what I mean? Just because I can't, I've got to protect this. But we're also wired with that. So it's not an evil intent that we have. It's like we're wired. We're wired that way. We're wired to protect what we believe, and to seek to validate it. So it's important to be able to do that. So, but then you can't just go out on a rampage and kind of just, because you then could become exposed to ideologies and all sorts of different things, right? And which, if you don't have the skills to ground yourself, and skills to be able to assess, does this work for me? Is this helpful for me? Then you end up just following whatever it is
Yes.
that everybody is saying.
Yeah.
So it's important
To get the balance right.
to get the balance right. It's
Yeah.
important to be able to learn these skills rather than being afraid of it, to kind of go, I probably need to learn this, because right now it's like, we go back to media. We keep skirting on the edge of media, and I keep poking, but media is so, people need to understand that media is a thing. Media is a system. It's a thing of its own. It will do what media does. Media by its own way of being is polarizing. It has to. Because if I need to convince you of doing something, I need to pit it against this thing that it's not. So you now have to make a decision whether you're in or you're out.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
what you believe.
polarization is part of media. It's a vital part of media. And if we don't understand that, then media is just going to mess with us big time, right? If we don't understand, like, you think about the discourses that are in media. Okay, so when I say discourse, I mean the language that is used to speak about certain things. And when we say a discourse, we're talking about the specific words and ways in which we are allowed to talk about this one thing. So, right? So there may be many other things about the cup. So when we talk about cups, we can talk about color, we can talk about shape, we can talk about size. We're not allowed to talk about whether it's microwave safe or not. We just don't talk about that. We're just going to talk about. Does that make sense? So discourses decide what gets included and what gets excluded, what we don't talk about. That's the first step. Second step is then polarizing. Whatever is and whatever isn't. The us them, which creates division.
Conflict.
Right? The conflict.
Yeah.
Because media needs conflict. So you know how you said before, the emotions, and people make comments and the arguments and the out of all of every emotion has a function. Okay. And we are wired with emotion to mobilize to stay alive. That basically in a nutshell. Okay. So you've got emotions that are mobilizing. So you've got fight, flight, when that gets triggered. So you've got anger and fear are mobilizing. That means they energize your body to move. So remember how I said you think something, you feel, and then it mobilizes you to action or reaction. So anger and fear are energizing emotions. They pump your body, get ready for fighting, or they pump your body, get ready for running, right? So they're mobilizing emotions. So they're going to be used in media because I need you to take some sort of action. I need you to comment, or I need you to press the button and click on that, or, vote for this, or do that, right? I need to mobilize you. I need to get you energized. Too much of something that's very energizing takes us to the next level, which is freeze, fawn. So doesn't get talked about a lot, freeze, fawn. So the freeze, fawn is the next level up, or next response. Okay. So when you can't get away and you can't fight, then you've got to stay alive by playing dead. Okay. So that's the freeze response. You get paralyzed and you can't move. And fawn is submitting. It's complying. So this is where people pleasers tends to be kind of like the go-to. And it'll be because of different experiences that have happened throughout time. They haven't been able to fight or flight. And then their instant response is, well, I need to let go and concede and fight, because that's my way of staying alive. So think about someone who's being attacked, right? So the different people will have different responses, but depending on where you are. So if you were very wired up and very worked up, you might just freeze and kind of stay there, right? Or you might go into fight. You might try and fight the person, and then you realize, whoa, they pulled out a knife. Okay, can't fight. Can I get away? So I'm going to try and get away, and I try and get away, and I realize I can't get away. What's the next thing you do? Take what you want. Don't worry about it. Just take my cards. You're complying. You're fawning. Does that make sense? And then you have people who freeze. Like, and I could have done something, but I just stayed there and I couldn't move a muscle. I was just, And people often can feel very guilty for, in a situation that was very drastic or dramatic, that they weren't able to move themselves to action. It's like, you can't. When your body switches into freeze mode, your body has taken over and you're frozen to survive. It's a bit like the spider that plays like it's dead. It's a bit like that. So even if you wanted to, you'd be most likely not able to.
Wow.
Mm.
That's such a fascinating way to just delve into that. And
Yeah.
the part of that is really interesting, and this comes, back to the way that our brains are wired, right? There's this kind of level of that knowing again, or being able to pinpoint a situation where that may have happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? And from that event onwards, whenever that event plays itself again and again and again throughout life, you have that same level of reaction, and that might be creating the barriers in your life, right?
Yeah, correct.
And so, part of this practice that fascinates me is how clear does that actually come through with a lot of the people that you have worked with, and kind of that level of identification. Like, I'm able to pinpoint that exact moment in time as that moment where I acted in that certain way. And so now I need to rewire my brain to act differently, or understand this differently, and try and not see those barriers anymore. Do you find that those kind of catalyst moments are very hard to pinpoint for people that you've worked with, or even for yourself in certain circumstances? Or is it something that becomes quite clear because it's this same repetitious, thing that just keeps replaying, that does need to be, wired differently, I suppose?
Yeah, it's there's no one answer to that,
Right,
because it
yeah.
presents in different ways.
It would, yeah.
So you do have moments of patterns where the person is aware of the pattern, or become aware of the pattern, and then suddenly see it, and it's like, and it kind of links. And then because you have other responses of the body where, like, people will shut out and shut down and just block certain things, so they're not able to actually know. So people will say to me sometimes, like I don't really know what it is, and there's no particular memory of anything in particular, but the response is there. The physical reaction, the physical thing is actually happening. And so there's ways to work around.
I was going to say there is still a way to go in from that angle. Yeah.
There's still ways to kind of look at it and gently work. And with something that's blocked, you want to go in even more gentle. You're always working gently.
Of course.
So it's like a trauma informed. You're thinking that there might be trauma, and you don't want to re-traumatize it. That you just don't want to bring that kind of thing up in that sense. But there's that, and then there is events that happened so early in childhood.
Right.
So let's just say you didn't have a language there. So you weren't able to express yourself. So now you haven't got a language stored that you can verbalize what you felt, or it's all felt in the body. So it's very physical. It's a lot of sensation that will come into it. And so often, like, people might kind of get to that place where they just, I don't know, like they just, and there's no words and there's no way to describe it, but the sensations are there. And then, maybe potentially it could have been, happened.
Or it could have been an event that happened later that may have stemmed from that first event that you can't remember or didn't have the language for, and yet that event you can still use as an entry point.
Yes, because the brain, if I'm understanding what you're saying, it's so an original event, the brain will store it. If it was intense enough and you didn't have the resources to deal with it at that point, the brain will store it as something to be mindful of and be careful when this rocks up again. So it's always kind of looking for that. And so anything that might have been triggering, any smell, any gesture, any color, anything.
We're going to keep coming back to the yellow. I love it. I love it. It's a great reference point.
Just making a point of it.
It is. It's a very bright color, guys.
No, I love it.
It's fantastic.
All right. So, so then the brain, stores that, and then anything that might be, reminding of it, it will then add it be adding it to that
Understood.
source of information. So then, in a way, remember, it's also then they may start to build a belief around that, which the belief is going to be the conclusion of the interpretations, a series of interpretations, and then now I form that into a type of belief. Maybe I don't deserve this, or maybe I'm not lovable, or maybe I'm not competent, or right, and it's starting to build, or I'm not safe. Right. And then the brain will seek to prove that. And can you see now how you're now heading in the direction of repeating these kinds of things in a very indirect way, and ends up happening in part because you're interpreting whatever happens with that lens.
Right.
Which then validates it to your brain. So you feel less safe every time, or less confident. Does that make sense? It just kind of keeps building.
It does. And another element of, I guess, visualization to this as well is almost like it's a big filter, right? Something goes in and it goes into that particular filter that's been created through that, that pattern that's been created, that might be, again, creating those barriers to get through it, because it's this repetition once, the brain puts that information through a filter and kind of tells you how to respond or believe what you're seeing, kind of thing.
Yes, correct. And it becomes that pattern. And so this is where being able to take that step back and notice. It's where having that insight, right? Having that insight and being able to know, okay, I also have these traits, which means I have these tendencies, and how much of that interpretation is based on that. And how much of these past experiences were because of the circumstances where that couldn't be validated because of the scenario that I was in for whatever reason, right? And so you kind of start. And so a way to think about it is we tend to remember how I right at the beginning of this conversation, to go back, and I said that we fuse our being of who we are. We get fused with what we think, what we feel, and right, and so we become one. And it's that separation that allows us to kind of see these things as well, right? To be able to take a step back. So the brain will always bring it, because the brain's trying to keep you alive, and it's already registered that as a problematic thing that caused a lot of pain, caused a lot of harm, right? And distress.
Yes, right?
Because when
it's
we
trying to protect you.
And so when we think about trauma, we always think about big T trauma. Like, you almost got run over by a train, or someone assaulted you, someone broke into your house, and right, big, you had this
big
massive
extreme
accident,
thing.
something big that was. But when trauma really happens, the moment that you're faced with a situation that you're not capable of dealing with in that moment, you don't have the resources to deal with it. And that thing is too intense. It lasts for too long, right? And it's got these qualities about it that you're in it for too long, in the state of fight flight, and you don't know how to resolve it, right? You don't have the resources. And then on top of that, you might not be able to unpack it, to talk with anyone about it, so that you can resolve whatever it was and to process it, right? In the moment after the event happens. And so then that gets stored with all the elements, because the brain hasn't processed it. It hasn't been able to kind of go, these bits are important bits of information that I need to log, right? And it hasn't done that. So it doesn't know. So it keeps everything. Keeps all the sounds, keeps all the colors, the sensations, what the temperature, this is why someone might be triggered by the smell of rain. Right? And they don't know it, because it's stored as a whole, because the brain wasn't able to unpack it, because it just didn't have the resources to deal with it. It was stuck in it for a very long time. And the intensity of what it was feeling was an alarm. It set off the alarms of survival for the brain. So the brain stored it. And then it's going to bring it up for you. Does that make sense? Anytime that it thinks it's important, it's relevant. So that's part of it.
And that's a fantastic, honestly, one of the best, descriptions I've heard of what trauma is. And the word trauma itself as well fascinates me, because there's a level of, is that trauma or is that misinformation? Is that umbrella term appropriate for what I went through? Does it constitute that kind of level of what happened in that moment too? And also, saying that you have trauma, can be such a negative, condescending thing. But as we said, a lot of times when, you know, you had this experience when you're really young and, you know, there's a massive sense of vulnerability and helplessness about you experiencing something back then. It's like, you know, is there shame in having a level of trauma to something that you didn't even ask for, nor did you have any kind of level of control in? And potentially is that all trauma too? But, you know, that level of understanding it, I think your description was fantastic. But yeah, that level of understanding where you fit into that, if you do fit into that, is something that I'm interested about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there.
Right, isn't there? Isn't there?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
So several things. I guess. Let me just get my thoughts in that, because you've got the component of, okay, did what I experienced constitute trauma? And the problem that we have now is as soon as a word becomes popular and everyone starts talking about it, and then suddenly it gets overused. So,
yes.
So the idea that, oh, I've been, I have trauma and I'm this, it can then be used as a way of saying, I'm not responsible for what I do or what happens because I have trauma and you have to adapt. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to do something. So, but I don't have to do anything because I have trauma, right? So it's a delicate thing, right? But at the same time, the expectation that everyone should adjust is problematic. So we should be trauma informed and we should be trauma aware that if you're triggered in a way that doesn't make sense to me, that maybe calling you a drama queen is not helpful because it's real to you.
Yes.
It's stored in your brain and it's coming up and it's real to you, right? So I do have to take some responsibility as the one doesn't have the trauma. But to use that as a way of I don't have to work on it. I don't have to change anything because this justifies and explains everything. So it can be a way of explaining and letting you know, I'm so sorry. I was traumatized by this experience and, this is what happened, right? In a way of giving word and explanation to what is happening to the person, right? So it doesn't remove the I guess the responsibility of working through it and healing from that, because the only person that can heal that is you. Right? So even if someone comes to me for that, I can't heal.
Right. I was going to say, there's only so much you can do.
That's right. I'm the one with the guidance. I'm the one with but you have to jump on the journey and you're the one who's going to be healing and you have to be, willing and even you might be scared and terrified and that's okay. Right.
Yeah.
But there's that involvement. So there's that. And then there's the element of, do we really need to get stuck in labeling it as trauma or not trauma? At the end of the day, this is one truth. Whatever it is you're feeling is real for you. And any emotion that you're experiencing is valid. Okay? So we can always validate emotions. Always. No matter what. So what do I mean by this? So remember what I said, however it is that you're thinking about something is going to trigger an emotion, and that emotion is real, right? Even if what you're thinking makes no sense, or even if what you're thinking is actually not true, or turns out not to be true, okay, that thought might not be valid, but your emotion is always valid because it's always felt and it's yours. So it's real. Okay? Just because I'm not triggered by what triggers your emotion doesn't mean it's not real. So when we actually say to someone else, oh, you're being exaggerated, it's like, no. Oh, talk to me, like, what's going on? How are you seeing this? And then a person might say, well, I just think that she hates me and that's why she's doing that. Well, it makes sense that if you thought she hated you to feel the way, that makes sense. Because if you're thinking this, surely. Now, if I get stuck in trying to prove why it's not true, there's this person, I'm leaving you with the feeling unacknowledged. I must acknowledge the feeling that you're feeling. So, because it's real for you. Does that make sense?
It does.
Before I even go and trying to explain why your interpretation of that event it's not really helpful, or it's
That's
not making
right.
sense.
That's right.
Or do you know what I mean? It's like you're saying to someone, so let's go back then to trauma, right? It's to someone that's been in war, you know, a veteran. And then they get triggered, and, you know, firecrackers, Christmas.
Oh.
And they're like, and they go, you know, and they duck and they get like really bad, and they're scared. That fear is real. That they're experiencing is very real to them. And, you know, you saying, oh, it's just firecracker, man, what's wrong with you? It's not going to be helpful.
Exactly.
Because to them, it's real, right?
Yes.
So can I meet you at the emotion and walk you towards the shift in the mindset? But I need to meet the emotion. I need to meet it. I need to validate it because it's real for you.
Wow. Oh, it's brilliant that you're able to get to that with everyone you work with. And yeah, sometimes it's probably hard, but that's why you do the work, because it is so empowering to see those changes. And another thing I wanted to quickly discuss was around, and it popped up as we were chatting, around visualization. And you know, you hear this word manifest a lot, you know, like, I'm going to manifest that this year I'm going to, you know, and I want to be careful with words, because, you know, becoming something, you are something, you know, there's this level of, you know, when you manifest something into your life, you breathe life into it, and visualization can be a very powerful tool to potentially, disassociate your trauma, potentially, like a potential coping mechanism. I, for example, remember there was a situation where I hugged a younger version of myself to say, you went through this particular trauma, it's okay, look at where I am now. And it was this level of like bridging that gap, but that was all done through visualization as a way of disassociating that, you know, that memory to that trauma, and finding a way to almost come to peace with it. For you, for other people out there, have you found that visualization and even, and I'm sorry if it's too distant as well, but around manifestation as well, is there a level of power to that is a way of potentially getting a level of solution, or a level of closure, or a level of groundedness?
Yeah. So the example that you're putting is an example of healing.
Yes.
So manifestation, as it's used, is like to cause something in your life to manifest that you're thinking about. So I'll park that one for a second.
Love it.
And then let's talk about visualization as a technique to be able to heal things. So remember how I just said just a couple of minutes ago, how I meet you where you're at in the pain that you're at.
Yeah.
So if this thing happened to you when you were younger, potentially you didn't know how to deal with it because you were too young.
Right.
But your older self understands. And there's a difference between what I understand in my mind and then what gets triggered in my body when this whole thing happens. And often, you know, if there was an event that happened, it would have happened then. And you tried to cope with it with what you had then, and you didn't have the resources. Yeah. But the memory was stored. Remember how I said it stores everything. So when the memory is stored in that way, and you get triggered now, same way as the soldier with the firecrackers, it brings that memory along with how old you were.
Yes.
And so people know that they're in a flashback. They know that they're because they feel a different age.
Wow.
Often you'll kind of go,
wow.
And you know, sometimes I'll be having a conversation with someone and go, do you think I'm 4 years old? Ooh, you're feeling 4 years old. What's going on? Like, do you know what I mean? Like I've hit on something that has made them feel how they felt when they were 4. Right? And it was like, oh, wow. Okay. Do you see what I mean? It's like, so what's happening then is like going back to the visualization is that whenever it is you're stuck in that, it keeps coming back as that child because that's how it was stored. Okay. With whatever resources you had then. So if you're able to visualize, and not everybody can visualize. So some people really struggle visualizing. And so we use other techniques. Yeah. There's always something that can be used.
Love it.
So if you can visualize, which means sort of like imagine and create this environment, imaginary environment and you go and you meet with that child, and you meet whatever emotions they were experiencing, and you validate the emotions. And, I've had people hug themselves or carry themselves
Oh,
out of a
wow.
situation.
Wow.
Right?
Powerful.
Right? So you've got this adult self that has been resourced, because before we've gone in, we've given you all the resource to know. We've talked about we've brought that healing where now oh, this happened because of that, and I wasn't able to do it because of this, and my temperament had this thing, so my tendency was to do that, and this is why I responded in this way, and it makes sense that I froze instead of. Now you have all of this understanding that grounds you, but you're still getting triggered every time it comes up, and you're still feeling like you're 7 years old or however old you were.
Right.
Okay, great. Now we need to go in there. And let's bring that. Let's show that 7-year-old that, meet them where they're at.
Mm.
Give them the explanations that they needed to have had in that moment that they didn't have. They didn't get. So you get that validation of the emotion. You give them that, it depends. It's different. Whatever it is you go in to do depends on what the situation is,
yes,
right?
100%.
And sometimes it's about standing up, leaving the kid behind, and standing up to whatever it is that was there, and, ripping into whoever you need to rip it. Do you know what I mean? Like it depends what it is that you're doing. But and then it's also bringing that child out of there. And often we'll do that journey of taking them through the stages of life.
Wow.
And showing them until you get to where you are. Look where we're at now. Yeah. And look, you're here with me, and I'll never leave you again.
That reassurance.
That I'm here with you. I don't have everything figured out, but look at everything that we have done.
Yes.
Right? And it's just that moment of kind of being able to heal that. So that's visualization. Visualization can also help you get yourself into a place of calm. So we often will do with EMDR, we'll do a calm space. So it's a place that you can visualize and you feel calm, and then you use bilateral stimulation to reinforce it, to make it easier for you to get there.
Bilateral stimulation,
Yeah, so bilateral stimulation is one of the techniques of EMDR, which is eye movement.
Yes.
Reprocessing, desensitization, and reprocessing.
Understood.
So that's what we're doing. So bilateral stimulation is stimulating both sides. That's
understood.
What it means, okay?
Gotcha.
So when we use EMDR, we're normally using eye movements. So this is why it's EMDR: eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing.
Wow.
For reducing the level of activation that this memory creates in you, right? So instead of having to duck because the firecrackers will let you, you can feel a little bit. It's still active, but you can feel it. And then we reprocess it. We kind of do that journey of being able to make sense of it in a way, right? It won't go too deep into that, how it's done. Sometimes it's visualization, but not always.
Not always.
Because your brain already has everything.
Exactly.
Right? So it's usually just a journey of you making sense, and I'm just kind of witnessing and guiding. Right. So there's very little involvement in what I'm doing unless we encounter something that requires it, and then that comes in handy. So the eye movements then are bilateral. So you're moving back and forth. We're kind of doing that, or we may change direction depending on what we're doing.
Understood. Yes.
So the speed will determine what we're doing. So we can set a calm space, so a space that you can retreat to just with your eyes, and there's a keyword and something, and then with soft, gentle, it makes it easier for you to get to that place. So that's how visualization can be helpful, which is very different to manifestation. And the problem again, I don't like to call it manifestation, because I think that where that's coming from is it's a very different background to where that's coming from, as opposed to what I'm actually showing you, which in a way kind of it's more neuroscience based.
Yes.
So what we know about how the brain functions is manifestation. The background of it is now kind of aligning with neuroscience, but there's a lot of a background of just coming from a different.
And again, it could also be that umbrella term where there's just the history
it's
and
tainted with,
it
that's what I'm
taints it.
trying to, that's
Understood.
perfect. That's the best way of putting it. It's got this whole baggage attached to it of its history. Not that it's good or bad. I'm not making any judgment about it, right? But it's just got all these other connotations.
But the practice of breathing into your life the right things that align with you, that might be less associated with the term of manifestation, but more around maybe using visualization or really, actually identifying what it is you want that connects to that deeper sense of self that can then allow you to go on that path forward to breathe into life the things, or the deeper level of purpose that you really are desiring, that you really want. Less so the term of manifestation, but more so that the practice of
being able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So from a cognitive science perspective, we already know that you see the world based on what you're thinking, what you believe, the experiences that are in your brain, right? So it makes sense that whatever it is that you're believing is actually going to influence what you do and how you behave, because whatever it is you believe is going to cause feelings, and whatever it is that you feel is going to lead to action, reaction, response, which then my response to you triggers your response to me, and that can close the avenue or open the avenue. If I'm coming, remember how I said before, if you're coming along your way and I'm already thinking, oh, here we go, here he's coming. I'm just thinking that in my head. I'm starting to get worked up. I'm starting to feel the emotions that we might have a bit of a clash. And so you walk in and you say good morning and go, what's good about them? And you're like, whoa, right? And you're like, will you respond to me? Oh, well, it's a beautiful sunny day. Chances are it'll trigger something in you, and you're going to react to my reaction to you. And that feedback means we're potentially never going to get along. You see what I mean? So now I am affecting change around me based on what I'm thinking.
Yes.
How I'm thinking about things, and more importantly, what I feel.
And
because
reaction.
what I feel, creates my reaction, my response. Yes. And so you kind of see, okay, so there's something there, right? And then I say this, to me, it's about conviction. Because if I have beliefs and I have experiences, it forms the foundation of what I am convinced of. Okay? So when I have conviction, I have an expectation of something. If you put that, I trust that something will happen. Okay? So one way to talk about that is to talk about with faith, right? To say faith. But the problem with faith, again that term, right? Bringing all this baggage. But that is probably the best way to define it. But without trying to get into that, you're then thinking about, it's a conviction that something will happen and an expectation that you will see it. You're not just convinced, you're expecting it. Okay? And so I will say, we do that all the time. We're already doing it. We're wired to do it. We're wired with it. We're wired with that component. We just don't know how to use it. Just don't know how to use it. So I want you to think about this. When you are fearful of something and you're anxious about something, you're convinced that it's going to go a certain way, and you're expecting it to go a certain way, aren't you? And because you're convinced of that and you're expecting it, it's almost like it's real to you, right? Because that's what anxiety is. Like, I'm living in a future that hasn't happened.
Yes.
Right? But I'm really terrified and I'm trying to prepare. But it hasn't happened. But you're convinced and you're expecting it. And because you're convinced and you're expecting it, and it's really unpleasant, you're feeling unpleasant emotions, aren't you? And you're feeling the unpleasant emotions that are meant to prepare you for escaping, getting away, or fighting something, right? It's triggering fight, flight. So you're experiencing this. Is that making sense?
Yes.
And it's the emotion itself that makes the whole thing unpleasant. So then you live in it constantly.
With this discussion that we're having around that level of visualization and that level of the way that we're kind of creating these events before they've already happened, right? There's two things that I'm really fascinated about is obviously how present would you be advising us to be to just kind of plant ourselves in that moment so we're not over preparing or thinking too far ahead or trying to over anticipate something before it happens versus a level of almost too confident, right? Like almost an imbalance of like, I know it's going to be okay, but there's this sort of this blind sense of, you know, almost overconfidence where you're convinced it's going to be okay.
You don't want to be dancing on the edge.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's what I mean by that. I should have just used that example first.
Yeah.
But you understand.
Just going, la, 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 la.
No. Oh, there's the danger. Whoops, I saw it too late. You know, Thelma and Louise style. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
So, but you understand what I mean by that kind of moderation.
So just, you know, think about the fact that a huge percentage, I'm not going to give you a number, right?
Okay.
But a huge percentage of the things that we imagine that will go wrong don't go wrong.
Mm.
But because we're convinced that they will, we live it as if it were true.
Lean into that. Yeah.
You lean into it. And the emotion then leads to your reaction and your response and your stress and your distress, right? And then it doesn't happen. Okay. So the more intent and the more worried and the more concerned that you are and you're trying to make sure that it doesn't happen and you're planning and you're making it, that a massive amount of effort seems to kind of be lost. It's like wasted. And then suddenly you're like, all of that effort in trying to make myself understand it and get all the thing, right? It never happened. No, nothing happened. It was fine. It was great. What was I worried about? You know, which happens a lot. Happens a lot. So the same happens because when you want to do something positive, right? So remember, we're wired with it. We just don't use it well. So that instance of anxiety, we're wired with it. We're feeling the emotion. We're experiencing it as if it were true. So we've got that conviction. We've got that trust. We've got that expectation. Okay. We're resting on that, and then we're busy trying to sort it out.
Yeah. Yes.
So the same thing happens if you are trying to manifest something. Again, borrowing that.
Yes.
The same thing will happen where you're kind of like, the more that you're thinking about that, I've got to imagine that it will be there, and I'm just gonna like make it, and I'm just like very intent, and and then it doesn't happen. Wait, what? I felt it. I had the emotion. I had that, right? And it just didn't happen because there was just a massive amount of energy that's expended into this thing. And it just, we are energy. So wherever your energy is, it's impacting everything around you. So it just, So does that make sense? So you want to keep that in mind. So that's one way in which this thing can collapse. And it's that effusive effort, the more effort that you put in the right, and then there is that moment. I don't know if this has happened to you, where you really want something and you just want it, and you're like drowning, and you're striving, and the moment you say, "Stuff it, I'm just going to let it go," boom, right? It happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's so relatable.
Yeah. So you want to remember that. You want to remember that because the steps of how the brain will work have to do with what you're believing and what you're convinced of. So you do have to go deep and heal whatever needs to be healed. If that has to do with the way that you're thinking about things, and remove those things that are there that are not helpful. And this is not about repetition that you're going to, although we do learn by repetition, it's about being able to sort of imagine, like, what is it? In the same way that you imagine with anxiety what it might look like and what would it be? You're anticipating this thing. You're almost playing this movie in your head, but but it's not a movie you're watching. This is a movie you're in.
Yes.
Okay. This is a movie you're in.
Yes.
And so when you want to do this thing that you want to achieve, the thing that you want to achieve, you want to do the same thing. You're wired with it. Don't tell me you haven't got what it takes. You've got it because you've been using it every time you're freaking out about something, right? And so what is it? It's about being able to say, okay, what is the thing What is the thing that I want? But then go deeper. So why? Why is this important? How does this align with who I am? Because remember, if you come from a place of that spiritual being, that core self that you are, and all I'm trying to do here is be. That's my purpose, is to be. And then in order to be better, so let's just say I say to myself, well, in order to be myself, I need to bring the thing that I am wherever I go. And then let's just say I think in my head I'd like to go to London to do that thing.
Yes.
Because that's what I want. I kind of see that, and I can imagine that, and I can think in my head that it's possible. Right? But it's coming from a place of why I'm doing it. Why I'm doing it is because I want to be me, and I want to bring this to those people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now it's kind of aligning with who I am and me being.
Yes.
And there's this sense of something that's, okay, it's there. And so now I'm kind of thinking about it. And then I'm thinking, what would it feel like if I already am doing this? What does that feel like? In the same way that you did with anxiety. You want to embody it. And so this is where that difference, remember when you said visualization, is a tricky thing at this step, because you don't want to visualize it as if I'm seeing myself. So I'm here observing myself being there.
Yes.
I'm separated from it.
Yes.
I don't want to be separated from it. I want to be one with it.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So I have to be in it. I have to see myself in it. And it's already happened. Okay? And what would I feel if once it's already happened? What am I feeling? And so allow myself to feel those feelings that it's already happened. You see what I mean? And now my whole energy is gearing towards that, and my whole being is aligning with it. Is that making sense?
It is, because you typically hear when you have this visualization, you feel all of those things, there's that level of alignment where it feels like, with that lovely word that we like, abundance, starts, because abundance is always there, right? And there's that level of, as you're going along that journey, now that you've had that experience where you've seen, you've been in that moment, you've achieved that thing that you wanted to achieve, and then you're on the path and you're living consciously through that, and you're present with that. As you're going along that path, the ingredients, so to speak, that you need to, or that you think you need to get to that point, all of a sudden start coming into that realm. Is that a level of, if I'm describing it right, that level of you've aligned to that, and all of a sudden the things that and I think you said it before, you couldn't see, all of a sudden you're acknowledging that they fit in that path.
And you're starting to see how that might align. And also, like, you don't have to have all the answers as to what that might look like at all. Because always it's going to be about that flexibility and that openness. So you can't, the more rigid, again, the more that we try and force it.
Yes.
The harder it is.
Yeah.
Right? But it's more of like an openness to kind of go, yeah, that's mine. Yeah. And you kind of thinking it's a given. I don't know how it will happen, but I know that it's a given, and I can feel what it would feel like once I'm experiencing it, and then I start to experience those feelings, right? And I allow myself to do that, and then you might do, because there's a couple of things that need to happen. So at some point you need to explore what gets in the way. If you're noticing that you're trying to do that, is there something that's getting in the way where you're feeling like you're not? Do you have conviction and certainty and expectation? Because if you don't have conviction, certainty, and expectation, there's something's in the way. You might be afraid of something. There might be something that once that happens, there might be something you need to deal with that you probably don't want to deal with. And that's what you need to be working on. You need to be answering those questions. Does that make sense? So you're asking yourself, like, what is it? Because if you don't deal with it, you will self-sabotage.
Yeah.
You will, because your brain's trying to protect you from that thing that you're worried about or that you're afraid of. And it will stop you because that's what it's wired for.
Yeah. There's another component to that very interesting as well, from experiential learning, but also from other people that I've spoken to around this, is when a certain event happens, there's so much energy. It's in the future. It's a future event. So much energy is being put into that one event. And then when it actually happens, so you've been putting thoughts towards it, you've been almost visualizing what it's supposed to look like, and then it happens. And then there's this level of disappointment because there was that expectation that it should have been that way and it wasn't, or maybe it was exactly the way that it was envisioned and it happened, but then the payoff wasn't quite there. There's a level of hollowness about living that experience because something was missing, or there wasn't that future energy that was put beyond that event. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, and that's
I love that reaction.
That's the deeper level of it, that which we haven't kind of gone into.
Sure.
It's that I guess, one way to call it is like this divine alignment, or this divine connection that exists to something that's bigger than you, of which your energy is part of.
Yeah.
So the problem lies in, can you tap into that, right, sense of deeper core divine being? Because maybe one way to think about it is, I am at this level. I exist at the outer level of the physical level of what I think I do when I react and respond, and then I am of how I'm wired and who I am, and then I am my spirit with capital. So I am now integrated with the I am that is everything and in everything, of which I am a part of. Okay? And so that's like an energy there. And so if you can surrender in that, you can surrender, and you trust, and you're expecting. It's how you get there, right? That's the key. But that's the goal, is that you can surrender in that. But we don't do that. Because we don't know how to get there. We don't know how to tap into that. So what we do is we do the I am, we do the visualization, we do the thing, and then boom, we jump from the outer realm and we start thinking about it and organizing it and doing things and getting excited about it, and we start operating at this outer physical body level.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
And we disconnect from that energy core source. So that's, to me, that's the key.
And there's a real level of trust in that level of surrender too, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't trust that it's you're going to be put in that situation and you can just let it unfold, then you're going to try and, again, like that sort of analogy that we used before about kind of swimming against the flow, instead of going with the flow.
You're trying to control it.
You're trying to control it too much.
Trying to control it.
Yes.
And so the more that you try and control it, the more it slips away.
Yeah.
But when you let go and you go, my intention is this. This is what I've put it out there, right? Then everything just aligns itself. I don't need to make it happen. And so it does require a type of letting go of the ego. So it's a state of being that's very different, right? When you're getting to that level, it's a state of being that's very different from that second level. When people come to me, normally they're at this outer level.
The outer level, absolutely.
Yeah. And then some people are like at this outer level and halfway here, and they're like really excited, and it's great. And it's like, okay, let's go deeper. Are you ready? Let's go. Does that make sense? And so it's that deeper thing. And it requires, it's a beautiful dance. It's just a beautiful dance, because it's like enough trust and confidence and belief in that possibility, enough in embodying it and allowing myself to feel it, which will actually move me in that direction, because I do need to move in that direction, right? So I do need to think about, okay, in what ways am I already experiencing this? So in what ways? So let's just say it's about abundance. Or let's just, or maybe it's about travel. So in what ways am I already capable of traveling? Well, I have a car and I can go wherever I want. And I've been to, this thing that I went this weekend, and I went up to the, and if I allow myself to experience, tap back into the emotions that I felt when I was experiencing those things, it will strengthen that that intention that I have to go to London.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I can draw from past experiences, and also draw from, I already have this. It's already here. So it is possible. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
To do that.
It's that level of your, like, is it the same as like you're not becoming the thing because you are the thing? Is that the sort of the same level of
right? That's it.
Yeah. I was like, I hope I'm saying it right. It is.
Yeah. It's very elusive, but yes, it's already in you, kind of thing. It's hard to put to words.
It is, and we had this discussion before around language, didn't we?
Because it's a journey. It's a journey, and you can only journey it. Describing it is difficult, because it's very hard to put into words how that is experienced, because it's a lived thing, and it's a connection to this thing. And then, of course, you've got the step of, okay, in what small ways can I begin to move in that direction?
Yes, correct.
And how can I keep my window of opportunity open so I can see things whenever they come my way? And then all I need to do is just let go and be.
Yes.
And what does being mean? Again, we go back to whatever it is you've been being all time. Every time, what is your purpose is just to be who you are, whatever these strengths are, that you actually put them into the world.
But there is definitely
doing that.
But there is definitely within that, right, like a level of presence and consciousness in being.
Yes.
Right? Because if you're too past attached or too future focused, right, too much energy in those areas, there's that imbalance, and there's not because everything happens in the now, right?
Absolutely.
That's the only thing we ever have, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so,
this thing that you want is in the now too.
It is. That's right. So
how do you bring it to the now? That's what you're trying to. It's creepy and kind of strange, but that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
That's exactly what we're talking about. So the future focus and the past focus is a brain thing. It's a survival thing.
Yeah.
So the brain is wired to anticipate. My brain is always trying to
based on past experience.
So it's either based on past experiences, or it's based on something that I have input into it. So this is why doing that exercise of being able to think about the intention and emotion, bring that emotion in, will kind of begin to prepare your brain to use that to propel you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
It's like you're giving the brain this new instruction, but you can't. As soon as you try and grasp it, it eludes you. It just eludes you. It's because it requires a type of surrender and trust in this greater divine thing.
and it's beautiful that we are tapping into this. We're talking about it as best as we can, because as you said, there's that level of language that is limited, because what we are experiencing is so much deeper, so much more meaningful than what any kind of surface level language can explain.
Exactly. And it's really interesting, because it's like science, we were waiting for the proof, we need to, and the truth is but wow, okay, fine, but science is trying to explain, it has this amount of information in this world of stuff that we don't know. And this is, and it's a lot of knowledge, but it's just tiny in comparison to everything that is unknown.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's so much that we don't know. And so this insistence in that. But anyway, science is leading in that direction. And we're starting to see it, and we're going, wow, that's pretty cool. Isn't that amazing that now we've got that proof? So that's good in a way.
And are you of this belief, I've read, and I really love Eckhart Tolle's work, And he talks about this new consciousness, but in reality, it isn't new at all. In fact, it's probably quite if we want to use that umbrella term, an old consciousness, because we're realizing the intelligence that was around a very long time ago that was capable of very great things collectively, but also individually, that we're starting to acknowledge its existence. I mean, it's always been here, but it's this acknowledgement of it and this willingness to dig deeper to understand that within all of us. That level of new consciousness, if we want to give it that phrase, is, I mean, that's going to be something that is also going to continue to deliver you with many exciting new people that are now on that journey with you. But is there a level of that acknowledgement too that we are finally getting to a point where this is more of a conversation, more of a experience, more of a something that we're actually doing as a collective, and there are more spiritual retreats, meditative practices, more ways and therapies, if you want to call it that, around bettering oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're in a time right now, and time's obviously a hard thing to, but do you feel like it's moving in the right direction?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I'm hoping because there's such a deep need for it.
Yeah.
And there's this sense that, you know, it's the tangible that seems real to us
Yeah.
and true. But when you start anchoring in these things, you realize this is more true than these other things.
Yes.
Because if as science has started to prove now, I'm not really sure that what I'm perceiving is, then is it really real?
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or is it a creation of my brain because of my perception and how my brain is influencing how I'm perceiving something? So my state of being seems to be more true than my physicality. But my physicality limits me, and we're wired with it for survival. And that wiring for survival, it's almost as if it works against us to try and prevent us from being everything we're meant to be.
Yes.
And that's frustrating.
Yeah. That's such a good way to put it.
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And so it's because the battle is always that human side of me, right? That biological side of me. That's my brain is pulling, and you know, depending on temperament, you'll have, you know, you'll want to connect, or my temperament always draws me to learn more and know more, and right, and it's knowledge, and I can get really hung up on that. But that's that external ring.
Yeah.
Of the physicality. It's me inputting more information into my brain to reframe how my brain perceives reality, but it's not addressing my internal core, that spiritual side. I need to work on that too. Because if I don't, that's how
that's where all your attention is.
Yeah. And that's where I did it all. Then myself will fuse to that. And then I'll find my identity in that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so
because
hope.
My deep needs will pull me.
Yes.
My deep need for that recognition of my knowledge and what I know will pull me, will pull my identity and drag it to fuse with it.
Yes.
And so, right? Is it starting to make sense?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because it's that level of hopefully more people are going on that journey to make that move to let's zoom out and let's acknowledge that there is something deeper at play here.
That's right. Yeah.
And that we need to tap more into that to find ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And then for that, remember before we said that we had deep needs as humans. We all have these deep needs that cannot be met. If we understand that, we're reminded in the moment that I'm seeking and I kind of don't get the validation of that, and then I'm like, oh, that's my cue that I've disconnected from this thing because I'm seeking it from this outer, pulled, sucked in by the deep need that is a human need. And I will be stuck with that while I'm in my physical body.
Mm.
So the battle is always between the pull of the body to get myself, my core self, to fuse with it and
Yeah.
seek to meet those deep needs
Yeah.
through external, physical, tangible stuff.
Yeah.
And the need for my core self to connect in the other direction to this bigger thing from which I come and I'm part of.
Yeah.
And I'm not it, but I am part of it.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
And trying to understand that too. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to understand it.
You can't. You can't. It's a spiritual thing. It cannot be understood.
It can't be understood.
It can only be experienced and connected. You can't.
And that
understand.
maybe is one of the most beautiful parts of this thing that you described, which I love, the dance, right? In the sense of like, maybe we just got to let go of needing to understand it.
Yeah.
And we can just live it and, if anything, enjoy it.
That's right.
And have fun with it and play with it and be curious, want to learn more and want to live it and want to aspire to have that best version of yourself show up every single moment, right? In the now. And so perhaps that's maybe the best thing we can do is not have this expectation of, oh, we will understand it, but we'll feel it.
Well, I do believe that there will come a time where you will see how you were seen, and it will just be like this picture, and you will just understand how you are part of this thing. Does that make sense? I do think there will come a time where it will, I will just see it, and it will just all like in a potentially won't be in my body anymore.
Yeah.
So I believe in that, but that's. Yeah, different people will believe different things, but I do have that hope, that thing that I can expect, that I will see, I will come to be fully one all the time. Because right now I can't be fully one with this great I am all the time. Yeah. Because the body pulls me. Yeah. The body pulls me. These deep needs pull me. The demands of I'm hungry, so I got to eat, right? I'm sleepy, so I got
There's limitations to that connectivity.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's like, and
I was in the zone. Come on.
I want to be more here. Can I just stay here? And it's just like,
damn, bladder. But it's so true.
But I look forward to that time, which I think will come, where I no longer will have to struggle with this back and forth, because I'll just be there, and it'll be like, oh, great. But like what will determine just how you experience it will be how were you able to experience it here? Are you able to connect? Are you able to connect? Are you able to kind of come back? And then it brings up a whole layer of stuff. So when we think about emotions that people are avoiding, so we speak about that, people avoiding emotions and trying not to feel, and there's good emotions and bad emotions, and get away from bad emotions, try not to feel. Well, they're all for survival. They're important, and they're always trying to communicate something to you. And emotions have a reason. They're trying to tell you something. And it's like a smoke detector. I like this analogy. When the smoke detector goes, you check. You don't run. You don't, right? You don't. You go and you check. You see, well, why is the smoke detector gone off? And you check and you go, off. Was the toaster. Yeah. Right. So the
battery's dying or
whatever. So you go, oh, okay, right. That makes sense. So might get a tea towel and just, thing and kind of go, oh, no big deal. Right. Or, smoke detector. Oh, yeah, fire. Okay, let's do something about this. Right. Yeah. That's what it is. So emotions are like a smoke detector. Each one has something it's trying to signal to you. And you need to know what each one is trying to signal so you can work out what you need to do. Do you know what I mean? When the smoke detector goes, you go to the toaster, you start checking to see, if there's a fire somewhere, was someone taking a shower and there's too much steam. You already know roughly what to check because you know what the smoke detector is for. Does that?
Yes,
so
exactly.
If you know what each emotion is for, and the moment the emotion gets set off, you go, this has to do with this. And you start to check in your environment. How am I interpreting this that is evoking this emotion? Yes. What's this about? Right? And you can then make sense of it in a better way. You can resolve conflict in a better way. You can find solutions. You can manage your thoughts and reframe things. You can do all of these things through that. Okay?
Yeah.
But also, if you're very emotional, right, or any situation that kind of repeats, it's kind of like, okay, so I might have disconnected. And can I learn to connect, assess from that connection, and then live through it? Because what we're meant to do is we're meant to be connected to this force self, really clear about who we are, living through it.
Yes.
So using our knowledge and our thoughts and everything, using the emotions and sensations to perceive, and our actions will align. They're meant to align with who we are. That's what being really is.
And this is also what I'm fascinated about.
And belonging is
connected. Yeah. But that's what I'm fascinated about with that is like that, almost in that moment, having that separation where you can, instead of being like overly reactive, being able to take a step back and see that and actually understand where that trigger may have come from is a very important thing. Yeah. But also there's that level of like, it's also that level of connecting the dots too, like that realization, because you're so in that moment, so to speak, that connecting of the dots, that realization of, that purpose connects to that, can sometimes come after the event as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And again, I think there's that real important key to know, like when the emotion comes up, like we might think that as we're learning these strategies, we're going to get better at not feeling the emotion. No way.
It's the same with thinking, right? It's going to happen.
Thoughts are just going to pop up. The brain's going to, give you the stuff.
Do its thing.
And then you're going to feel the emotions. And as long as you're alive, that's the thing you got to deal with. You've got to acknowledge. And so you're going to get better at picking it up. You're going to, grab the first, second, the third thought and go, I'm in this thing again. Okay, I need to get out of this thought pattern, right? But it's not the first thought. You can't control it. Your brain will just pull it up, and it's just a bit like Google. It's just it'll give you what it thinks is important, which is why it's important to rewire the brain with renew the way that you're thinking about things, so that the brain starts to pop up more helpful stuff. Yeah. The more that you heal, the better your intuition gets.
Yeah. I was going to mention intuition before. Yeah. I love it. Yes.
Yeah. See, because then it's about that connection, right?
Yes.
It's about that connection. So the acknowledgement, like that moment that the emotion comes up, we tend to kind of go, I hate it that I still get angry, or no, that's like, it's a human thing. You're in a human body. You're in a physical body. You will experience emotion. It's part of it. But rather than, sort of trying to fix it yourself on this realm, you're going deep in, and you're connecting to that source.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from that place, you're then thinking about what it is that needs to happen. And the intuition is that alignment of your being with this deeper thing. The better you are able to detach in a way and heal these parts, so that, because right now, often we're ruled by it, by this external dynamic of what I feel, what I think, what I do. We're ruled by it. And we want to channel our life through doing that, which we do, because we live here, right? We've got physical things. But the ideal is that if you're connecting to this source and you're living through it, it's a different type of experience.
Yes.
Because you're in charge and it's ruling. Or you're not in charge, but this core thing that you're connected to, that is connected to everything.
Yes.
Right? And of which you are a part of.
And this is where I love that kind of that intuition topic, in the sense that, like, you may not necessarily, like, your brain may not be able to perceive or understand the feeling that you get from this. If I want to return to that term of inner knowing again, where perhaps the intuition is, but it's one of those things where you may not actually be able to explain why you feel that certain way, but the intuition is connected to a much greater power.
And then you know that you know.
Yeah.
This is the knowing you were talking about.
Yes. I'm glad it's connected because I was like, oh, no, I'm not going on a tangent there. No, you're understanding it. Yes.
This is the knowing that
Yes.
you know that you know. And
Yes.
this is how you know that it's truer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is how you know that it's more real than the thing you thought was real.
Yes,
right?
that's exactly
And it's just like, what? It escapes really trying to understand it.
And that's what I mean around like that whole level of your realization or you're connecting the dots actually comes maybe after an event because let's call it the full event is unfolded. And then the intuition in that moment, you chose to follow that intuition instead of whatever thoughts were coming into your mind, all those different reaction patterns, right? And you chose the intuition because you're trusting your own intuition.
Yeah.
And then the event unfolds and then you have the realization, that's why that happened.
Yeah.
And that intuition knew, but that's where it's that stepping back and realizing that's why that.
Well, you learn to recognize that.
Yes.
The voice of that.
Yes.
As opposed to the mind thinking.
Yes.
Because intuition can be hijacked. Hello. Yeah. In the sense that your brain is already primed with experiences and all these things, right? And so your intuition, which is your gut feeling, which is your second brain.
Yeah.
We now know.
Oh, I like that phrase, second brain.
We know now from research, it's like there's a second brain. It's in our gut. So we kind of think, okay, that intuition can be hijacked by the experiences that you have. So if you haven't done this work, you're more likely to get confused. I don't know if what I'm getting is coming from my brain or is it actually my deeper connection to something bigger that's, this divine bigger than I am, that I'm part of. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it that or is it the mind telling me that it is?
And I don't know. But the more that I do the work to recognize it and separate it, the more that I'm able to recognize easier this voice. The more I connect to this, I build a relationship. So remember how you said if you pick up the phone and you talk to me, I'll recognize your voice.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's Michael.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's the same. As soon as you keep continuously coming to connect with this greater I am. Your I am connects with this I am, and you form, I'm part of this. That's your sense of belonging. And you build that relationship and that connection. That voice becomes clearer and recognizable and distinguishable from this other voice. Yeah. That's where you want to be. Yeah.
And that's, again, to link it all back, that's a part of what you do in your profession. I mean, that's amazing. Because now we know we've went on this huge, incredible journey together chatting. We now know the purpose behind why it is so important and how life, honestly, can be so much more than what it is. It becomes elevated because there's that deeper connection to who you really are and that better understanding of where it came from and what was holding you back in the first place.
Yes.
To then trust you a lot more. Correct. And
there's one analogy that can be helpful to kind of understand what will happen in the end.
Oh, I love this.
Well, I'm still working on this.
Yeah. Please. You can workshop it here. That's okay. I'm sure the audience won't mind.
I keep adding every time I share it because this is how I love working, right? Like as I'm sharing, whatever it is you're saying to me is building on what I know. And it's just like, so I'm always keen to hear, how are you seeing it? And a lot of the things that you've said today have clicked. And have made, yes, you've helped me word something that it is getting increasingly easier to speak about.
Amazing.
Yeah. But that doesn't happen me on my own, on a vacuum.
Understood.
It happens when I'm being me in everything that I am wired to do in me and just being. And I'm just sharing it with you. And as it goes out, you're doing the same thing and we're building this bigger thing. Yeah. And then something in me goes and it connects to that deeper. And it's just like, I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And I know I didn't come up with that. It's part of this this connection.
Yeah, this
that you have,
exchange
this
of
knowing, right? So
yeah.
the knowing that you asked at the beginning, that's that inner, deeper knowing that you know that you know. And, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the analogy
Yes.
that I think about when we start to try and understand our brain and how our brain it forces us, like it shapes how we interpret the world.
Yeah.
It shapes how we feel about the things that happen to us, right? So we do have more control than we think we do in that. If we can understand how it works and we can understand where we stand and what are our traits, and if we can create that distance, right, where we can observe what's happening, we're going to be in a better place. We're going to be more in control than if we're in that spiral spinning, going, I think something, then I feel something, and then I feel an urge to do something, and then I do it, and then I feel really bad, and then I think I'm a horrible person, and then I feel worse, and then it's just,
and it is a spiral. You're right. It goes
a spiral. Yeah,
through all the negative emotions,
and it's all like physical. It's all over the place, and then the brain's wired for survival. So all of that is dangerous. So it's a trap.
Yes.
So one way to explain it is to think about it like, when you use ChatGPT.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So when you use ChatGPT, you give it a question and you give it a prompt, right? And then you can't just take its word for it, because that's dangerous, because ChatGPT can hallucinate. It's programmed to actually be very empathetic and very agreeable.
Correct.
So it will give you, based on what you've input before, is going to give you what it thinks that you need. And the more that you engage with it, the more it builds on that. So you really have to, when you prompt it, you really have to tell, can you find the research that proves this and bring up the place where it's at? Otherwise, it'll make stuff up. And I've been really surprised to see that. Every now and then I just remember a particular moment I was trying to create. I thought, let me just quickly create a table to explain something to somebody, and and I was trying to compare the trauma, the symptoms and the way that trauma presents, right? And what it looks like with neurodivergence and ADHD, and how there's some similarities there, that it looks so. Some of those may look like trauma, so we can find that. And it was really interesting, because I said, can we just put those two things in the table? Just put them in the table, put them side by side. And what came out was like, whoa, so that's not true. That's not real either. What's it? So where are you drawing this information from? And it's actually, where is the research to back this up? Oh, there's no research. That's what's happening on social media. And it's like, right. So if I didn't know about it, I wouldn't be able to recognize that it was not right. Do you know what I mean? But because I know about it, I can spot it, and I can go, okay. So this is the kind of awareness that we need with our thoughts. It's an awareness of knowing, well, hang on a minute. Where are you going with that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? No, just stop it. I know where you're going. I know what you're doing. Hold it. Right? Because just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. Just because it came to your mind doesn't mean you have to action on it. Right? Whatever it is you're feeling is always valid, and you can validate it, but you have to come back to how am I thinking about this? Right? And also, like, ChatGPT will just go, oh, it will give you the answer. Let's just say you put in a really good prompt, and then it will give you the answer and go, would you like me to create a PDF?
Action steps. 5 dot points to bring back that reference. Oh, my goodness.
Do you need me to do that? And you can go, yeah, sure. And you go down that path. And then it goes, and then after a prompt, and it gives you that, it will go, would you like me to then now create it into a da-da-da-da-da? And you're like, yeah, sure, go for it. And where does it end? You could be years if you just kept letting yourself be prompted by
feeding.
You could be there doing whatever it thinks it should be. Your brain is a bit like that. It just keeps prompting you with different things, but you need to take a step back. Like, you're the one who's prompting the AI. You're the prompter. You're the one who knows what you're after. You're the one who knows what you need and where to stop. Does that make sense?
It does.
So the less clear you are about what you're after in ChatGPT, the more likely you are to get
stuck,
right? You could get sidetracked or Right. There's ways around that, but in general. So with ourselves, then it's that separation, it's that recognition that I can say to chat, I can stop at any moment and I can say, no, I don't want a PDF. I don't even need to answer it. I can just move away. Do you know what I mean? And getting that sense of separation. I'm me and ChatGPT is ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I even heard this discussion the other day around, one day, somewhere in a dystopian future, there will be technology that will allow our thoughts to be read out loud. And I'm thinking, no, we can't have that. we can't have that. No,
we can't. No.
Because we've all got so many thoughts that aren't identified or associated, or we choose to, again, have that separation from what that thought is. And is it coming from us, or is it just a thought from the brain, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Something that is disconnected by
or that you just heard it repeated.
Yeah.
So the more often you go on social media and the more you look at certain type of information, the more the social media will feed that information.
Exactly.
And so that repetition and recursion is how the brain learns.
Yeah.
So technically you could also be very easily controlled too.
Sure.
All right, let's not get into that. But in any case, so then back to the work, then it's that's what you're doing. You're creating that separation. So where you're now, you know who you are.
Yeah.
And then this is how you think, how you respond, how you interact with the environment.
Yeah.
But this is who you are. You're grounded in that.
Yeah. And I think one of the nicest ways I could, because I've been, the last couple of minutes, I'm like, how do we wrap up this amazing conversation? And maybe we just go cut. But, but there's this.
Yeah, that's it.
There's this, system props back. All the batteries are dying, the lights have gone out. But
there's recording.
Yeah, we're like, oh no, what? Yeah. The start of the end But there's this level of, and I mentioned it from the very top around gratitude. The fact that you have chosen this profession based off those very early memories of yours where you had this incredible skill and you've harnessed it for good, and for all the way through your path, whatever different paths led, and there was some dead ends and you came back, but you're here now doing this very powerful thing. And I actually remember a conversation I had with a psychic who said, a lot of the time I don't actually remember the advice that I give or what I've seen and then advise that person to do through the guides that I've had, but yet they're grateful for the work that I've done, for what I've told them in that moment with my expertise. And although I may not remember it, they're grateful for it. And therefore what I am doing has real purpose.
Okay.
Is there a level of that for you, like in the sense of like you may not necessarily remember, you might remember all your clients and everything you took them through, but there's just a level of like gratitude, but also, the proof's in the pudding with what you've actually been able to do in your profession?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting question. Really interesting, because, for example, like with my clients, I don't advise them on what to do.
Right, exactly. You're the guide, right?
That's just not the thing that I do. Yeah. So my role is to help you. I'm just putting a mirror in front of you.
Yes, exactly.
Helping you work
Love
it out,
that. Love that.
because you're the expert in you.
Yes.
And I can't take that on, because how on earth am I supposed to know what were you meant to be doing?
Yes.
What if I guide you in the wrong direction, just because I think that that's my direction?
Yes.
And I'm convinced that that's what you need to know. I need to guide you on how to connect to that I am in your own way, so that together you guys will work it out.
Yes.
I'm saying you guys.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
So do you know what I mean? Like, there's no, this is your journey. I just know, like, think about like a nail plater. Okay. So you've got the capacity, the fact that you're sitting at the steering wheel, means that I think you're competent to do this. I think you could, no, you've got it in you. You drive. No, you do it. No, you drive. No, you drive. You can do it. You don't know how yet, but I'll tell you, right?
Yes.
Look at your rearview mirror. Check the thing.
Yes.
Put your indicator. Do that. Okay. Where are we going? Oh, let's go to Bunnings. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so turn left here. And do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm just guiding you. How do you want to do that? What are you supposed to be doing next? What happens? Oh, should I indicate and try and reverse park? Yeah. Okay. Go for that. Do you know what I mean? It's more of I have the questions that I can ask you that will bring out from you the answers that only you know. I'm not giving you any answers. Does that make sense?
It does.
You're in the driver's seat all the time. You're in control. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I am not telling you this thing.
Yeah.
I'm guiding you to find whatever that thing is for you. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, because I can relate it back to what I do, which is a social impact storyteller. I tell stories about people that are already doing good in the community.
Yeah.
And I simply, with the skills that I'm very grateful that I have and the connections that I have with other aligned people that have those technical skills to tell a really great story, we just shine a light in the dark. They're already doing that work. They don't seek recognition. They just want to do that work to help. And they have a connection to that work, and that's why they're so passionate about it. That's why look, some go into other different lanes and also help, but a lot of the time these people are in their own lane, but that doesn't diminish the value of what they're doing. But simply, I come in and I tell their story in a really authentic way. I connect with them. And once you establish that trust, it's amazing the type of story that you can create. But a lot of the time there's that hesitation around, how much do I share? How much do I trust this other person?
Yeah.
How much do I trust myself?
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of the time there is that trust, because there's that bigger vision of, once we get that out there, the world will be a better place because more people will know, you know? And I like to think that's part of the reason why I do this podcast, because I'm curious. But I also think the world will be a better place when people listen to this discussion and perhaps even take action.
Yeah.
And go on that journey.
I think that's key. Absolutely. Absolutely. And discover what story is within them.
Yeah.
They didn't know that they could tell.
Right. And ultimately harnessing the power that they have. And that's part of it, right?
That's
when you must see some pretty amazing transformations from where you start with someone to where you end up, or maybe it's an ongoing, journey, but that is part of the beauty that comes with it is you show them the mirror, and then they look in the mirror and they're like, something's different now.
Yeah, they see themselves.
Yeah.
Often for the first time.
Yeah.
They've seen themselves.
Yeah.
So then suddenly they recognize themselves.
Yes.
And then they get to know themselves at a deeper level. And then they can have confidence in themselves and can trust themselves.
Yeah.
They really know themselves. That's the journey.
Yes.
That's the journey. It's a journey of self-acknowledgement. That's why it's the core identity blueprint. That's what it is. It's like here's a map that you can use to build your own thing. But you're more discovering it. You're not really building it.
Well, I love the analogy about a mirror, because how often do we look in mirrors and look in different car windows or reflections, and we see a form, but we don't really see beyond that form. We don't see what's deeper. We're just looking at a reflection, and it's very autopilot-y. Oh, I got to pluck a few of these eyebrow hairs or something like that.
Or focus on the outer.
Oh, I got to shave.
We need to, lose a little weight over there. I need to cut my hair because it's too long. Yeah. And we're focusing on that outer. But what if you had a mirror where you could see the inner?
Yeah.
And then you could tap into something that sees you in a different way.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go, wow, that's
powerful.
That's what it's about.
That's what it's all about. And almost feel like we've arrived at this destination of full circleness, at least for today's conversation.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's good. It's been amazing, and I've
loved
I
this.
Thank you for that. It's that we were talking right at the beginning, where we say if you can recognize what are the strengths and how we kind of what each one brings, and your ability to draw the story out is key.
Yes.
It's been an amazing experience.
It has.
To have this conversation with you in a different way than I've had before, in a way that's just more, I guess, conversational and relatable as we're telling the story, which is exactly how I like to connect, to kind of do things. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you,
It's been
Mishka.
great.
This has been, and it won't be the last time either. I really mean that. I think the work that you do is genuinely life-changing, inspirational, and I think will definitely give people a lot more perspective than what they maybe had previously thought. And certainly
Mhm.
for me, talking from my own perspective, you've given me a lot more clarity on certain things
Mhm.
and also a real shift in how I look and perceive at certain things and even just that greater understanding of, the history of humanity around this is why our brains are wired in a certain way. And it's
Absolutely.
okay to think that or it's okay to feel that. Like
That's
it's just a
right.
part of
That's
it.
right. That's right.
And
And the
yeah,
other thing is, like, it just continues to evolve. So yes, we're
right.
going to have more conversations because as more science comes up, we're going to go,
Yes.
ha, that thing that we spoke about.
Yeah.
Imagine now it's this and now we know this,
Ah.
right? And so
Yes.
it's evolving. And every time that
Mm.
I, sort of work with people, it grows because genuinely, I think that we're all part of this big thing. So it's almost like the keys to the stuff that I still don't know is spread across the people I haven't come into contact with yet.
Yeah.
So that to me is like, oh wow, let's do that. Let me
Yeah.
just share this, put it out there. You show me let's put it together and see what happens.
I love it.
So it just keeps evolving. So
Yes. So more
yeah,
conversations, when more understanding comes to us, will
yeah.
be another great discussion around that too.
Mhm.
And I just like to think that, you know, I think, well, I believe for me, everything in life happens for a reason. And being on this aligned path, doing a project like this where I'm able to bring people into my space and have honest, true conversations, heart to hearts, if you will. Yeah, this was meant to happen. We were
Yeah,
meant to have this discussion.
yeah.
It's amazing to be in alignment with you, and thank you genuinely
Right.
for all the work that you do.
No, thank you as well. It's a
Awesome.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Anytime.
I'll give you a hug. Thank you. Oh, that was awesome. I
That's great.
appreciate that so
Thank you.
much.